Mic on.
Hello. How's everyone doing today? We got painting these. Let me mute this thing. These little guys here. We got painting them gray like this guy. There we go. And do a ethereal gray. That'll be enough for now. Oh, well, thank you. Tashk, how are you doing today? Start from the bottom and work my way up. It looks a bit thin now, but that's only the first layer. Once it got the second layer on, it'll look more solid. Well, that's a good problem to have, isn't it? Or is the kid sick? I'm not too worried about being perfect. I'll paint over all the mistakes later. You're able to hear the music pretty well. Yeah, I can get that. I don't have a kid myself, but I have cats. I get the same problem when I have a lab cat. Can't do anything because he wants me to pet him constantly. It's the Eldari faction. I can't remember what they're called. Wraiths, I think. Or Warhammer 40,000. It's a small squad of 5 of them. Painting them with a gray armor color, and I'm gonna have red highlights on them. well as various metallic colors for areas that need the metallic colors. I have a similar model that's called a Wraith Lord. It's a little bit bigger than these guys. I'm gonna paint these guys the same color as him. Kind of in the same family of units, machine spirits. It's a good way to relax and sit here and paint. Probably not the most exciting thing in the world to stream, but I figured if nothing else, I'm gonna just listen to lo-fi and relax. Oh yeah, the lore is fantastic. I have several books. And I obviously play the tabletop game too. It's a lot of fun. This is actually my wife's army. She doesn't want to paint it or not very good at it. And since I like painting, I said, I'll go ahead and build it and paint it for you. You can enjoy playing it. Works out for me. Guy's hand. So, Catan, what books of the 40K lore have you read? I'm sure it wasn't as bad as you think. most people when they first start painting is usually pretty bad. I mean, my first mini was terrible, but like with anything, you just keep doing it. Even if you think you're bad at it, you eventually get good at it. Oh, I have an echo. That's why. Someone stop that. Alright, looks like the first layer is pretty well dry on the bottom. Oop, forgot to paint the guy's butt. The trick with mini painting is don't worry too much about being perfect right out the gate, especially on your first layers. I mean, I'm getting paint all over where I don't want it to be, but as I do more and more layers, it'll just kind of work out. Eventually, you'll look solid. Just applying the second layer of gray now. And I'll make the color look a lot less sloppy. A lot less smeared looking. Almost like that. But other than being stuck of your kid on your arm, how's your day so far? Suppose you got everything ready to go for holiday tomorrow, if you're in Americas. It can go both ways. I mean, on one side, I've read a lot of the Horus books myself, and I get where he's coming from on he did nothing wrong. He was manipulated, ignored by his father, or God Emperor, if you will, left to his own devices. And at the same time, it was actually kind of what the Emperor was planning in the first place. He wanted to outdate the Space Marines eventually, let them all kind of die off after he's built up his empire. In the end, he ended up just getting corrupted by the demons. next is 40k history. You're thinking of Magnus's army, the Thousand Sun, Magnus the Red. Horus was the one who kicked off the entire war. Yeah, the Thousand Suns are the ones with the Egyptian themes to them. It's easy to do. I mean, with all the units and lore that there is in the 40k universe, it's easy to mix up one with the other, with the other, with the other. I myself, I am a big fan of the Adeptus Mechanicus, AdMech for short. Bunch of priests that believe in machine spirit. Their stacks have always been pretty neat, you know, almost kind of a combination of steampunk and cyberpunk in a way. Yeah. You think, therefore I am, it takes a whole new meaning in that universe. Especially when you understand the history behind some of the gods, like Sanesh. The newest one was created just by the elves, these guys here. Just having so much fun with their lives that eventually just created a new god, a god of excess and pleasure. Looks like I missed a few spots. Looks like I got most of it. Let that dry and come back to that in a bit. I need more paint on my palette. Let's draw on the fourth guy. Work paint into the wet palette so it gets a little bit of that water draw from the sponge underneath. Yeah, I like painting one color at a time. If the model's small enough, I'll do the first layer and then switch and go and do the first layer on every model in the unit. Go back to the first one, do the second layer. But these guys are big enough that by the time I finish painting the first layer, it's already started to dry on where I started originally. Real hard part sometimes is trying to figure out how to hold the model in a way that I can get to the unpainted bits. This is where you can't worry about painting on something you don't want painted yet. Because you can always go back later with touch up and undo it. Like that color right there. I don't know if you can see it. Get a little gray on that part where I don't want gray. Eventually I'll go back and fix it when I go to do my next color. The reason why most people believe that their painting is bad is because they keep trying to compare themselves to the box art. Problem is, those are professional painters, make a living off doing this kind of thing. So of course their shit's gonna be super colorful, super well done. But the only thing you can do is hold yourself to your own standards. Be better than you were before, kind of thing. Got all the legs done. Go on to the butt. Onto the arms and upper body. Yeah, that is the thing. You kind of have to set aside a good amount of chunk of time. I mean, I can sit here for hours painting and still not be fully done with whatever I was doing. I mean, these guys alone, I'm doing a pretty simple color pattern on these guys. I'm just going to be doing gray with some red highlights and metal colors where I feel they need to be, and it's still going to take several hours to do. But as long as you don't rush, just kind of set aside that time so you don't have to feel rushed. And you can go at whatever pace you feel comfortable at. I've been doing this a couple of years, maybe 2. That's the only reason why I'm even as fast as I am, and I wouldn't even call that fast. But speed isn't important. I mean, you can take all day just to paint one miniature, and as long as you're enjoying yourself and you feel relaxed by the end of it, that's the only thing that really matters. It's all about you, you know? It should be a hobby that you enjoy, enjoying it how you want to enjoy it. Paint models how you want to paint them, even if they're not standard. Standard colors or whatever. Oops. So you've never played the actual game before. Have you played any other tabletop type games, Dungeons and Dragons, or some other equivalent of Warhammer, or watched other people play? Oh, okay. Pathfinder, that's the competition for Dungeons and Dragons, isn't it? Or kind of a different system? Yeah, I think I've got a few of the Pathfinder RPG games on Steam. Pretty fun. I used to play D&D way back in high school. It's actually how I met my wife. She was in the same D&D groups as me. We don't play anymore though. We don't have much of an outside life. We just chill at home all day and play video games and play Warhammer against each other. Feels like it's dry enough. Let that dry for a few more seconds. Go back to this guy and repaint that one section of foot. Yeah, that looks good. Go on to the second layer for this guy. Another tip with painting is that never getting discouraged by what it looks like while you're painting it. Because as you add more and more colors, you start thinking, this doesn't look good. I shouldn't paint this color. But it has a tendency of all kind of working together once it's all together. I mean, my first models, I'd start painting, and halfway through, I'm like, why am I painting it like this? It looks stupid. It looks disgusting. And then by the time I get all the finishing touches on it, it looks pretty well put together and almost like it belongs together. The process of painting everything together just kind of works out in the end. Heroescape. I've never actually heard of that before. Was that years ago? Was that sometime after 40K first came out or before? Played Battletech before, but I don't think I've ever heard of Heroescape. I think Battletech's been around at least as long as 40K has, if not a little longer. Oh, it's a Hasbro game. Died in 210. Okay. Do you know who owns it now? If not Hasbro? wonder if they're like an indie studio, kind of like One Page Rules is. One Page is a pretty interesting game system too. It's similar to 40K, but cheaper. It basically sets up so you can use whatever you have on hand, 40K models or whatever you want. But they also provide STLs for 3D prints. They encourage people to print their own models for that game. Pretty interesting idea. So was it a D6 based combat system with Hero Skate? Excuse me. Or was it more similar to Pathfinder, where it was various dice sizes? Okay, so it kind of creates an alternate timeline of the universe that we live in then, huh? Nice. Might have to look into it later after stream and look into it, because I always like finding alternatives to Warhammer. Not because I don't like Warhammer, but sometimes Games Workshops can be pretty stupid with their own IP. Oh, I bet. I mean, these things are expensive for models, little tiny action figures. I mean, I think my AdMech army is close to $1,000 all told for all the models I have. It's ridiculous. One of the reasons why I want to get look into getting a 3D printer, so I can just kind of cheese it a little bit. Oops. Yeah, Warhammer is not a inexpensive hobby to get into, that is for sure. Yeah. But we live in a good age with 3D printers becoming a not just a brand new technology, but almost a household technology now. I mean, you can get a cheap, what, $200, $300 3D printer. Go find some STLs online and print out an army and use them as proxies for Warhammer, or even better, games like One Page Rules, which encourages you to proxy, encourages you to just enjoy the game without worrying about being banned from tournaments for not having the proper models. Like I said, one of the reasons I want to get a 3D printer is so I can get proxies. If nothing else, print out terrain for use inside of playing the actual Warhammer game. guy is done with this first color. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, I always like the way the big machines look. Yeah, get some more paint on the palette before I start with this guy. Like I have one of the knights on standby. I just finished building him and put the first color of paint on him. Here, let me show you. The only named guy in the entire Holy Knights army. Let me try and get him in there so you can see him. Canis Rex. Oh, I've only just started painting him with an airbrush I got recently. And I just love the way those supersized walkers look. Get some of the dust off this guy. It's been sitting there on my to-do counter for God knows how long. Still all dusty. There we go. Although what's funny about those bigger guys, the Titans, they get super expensive. Like the what is it called? Can't remember the name of it, but it's like the biggest Titan in the game. It costs like $3,000 just to get the Titan alone. But it's like the size of a small child, so it takes all day to paint it, or all week really, just to build it and paint it. And after all that, you can't even play it in a normal game of 40k because its point cost is so expensive that it can't even fit in a normal 2,000 point game. Like it costs 3,000 points or something like that. But something like that isn't so much to be used in a game as it is an art piece, really. At that point, you're just getting it because you think it looks cool and you want to paint it up and make it look even cooler. And have it as a centerpiece in your gaming room. Be like, hey, look how cool I am. I got myself a $3,000 toy soldier. I'm not even hating on it. I'm just wishing that was me. Yeah. showpiece, but it's a really cool showpiece, isn't it? I've actually seen some people on YouTube actually playing, not necessarily a full game with a Titan, but like a boss battle kind of thing, where it's like one guy has the Titan, like two Titans, and the other player has to try and bring down the Titan in 5 turns. Almost kind of like a PvE game mode. Pretty interesting concept. Yeah, that's the one thing about Warhammer or Game Workshop. They have the market on all the cool shit, or they think they do, and they're at least half right. Yeah, I think the one I saw was orcs up against a couple of Titans. Or no, it was demons. That's what it was. It was a demon faction against 2 Titans. It was actually surprisingly easy for them to take it down. I mean, despite it being a big stonking machine, enough focused fire and it goes down within 5 turns easily. Too much paint on my brush. Missed his spot. Little thin ass legs. He skipped leg day. Get a little more paint off my brush. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be doing myself as a variety streamer, maybe live paint videos like this, in addition to playing some of the computer games I like. Okay, no problem. Have a good day. Maybe I'll see you over on Ember's stream. And let me know if you do start painting. I can give you some pointers if you need it. I mean, I'm only an amateur myself, but from one amateur to another, still is pretty good knowledge to get on. Well, even if you missed tonight's, I'll see you next time. You have yourself a good day. Thanks. this guy's overcoat. We'll be switching over to red. And the paint off the brush. Nooks and crannies. Never want to have too much paint on your brush, otherwise it'll run off the brush onto the model and make a bit of a mess. That's why I always wipe my excess paint on my thumb. It's only acrylic, it'll wash off easily with soap and water. I also use my thumb to reform the tip of my brush. There we go. That's the first layer of gray done, looks like. And feels like the first layer on the bottom is dry again. On to the second layer. I've never been really good at painting freeform. You know, I can't make like Bob Ross and draw a bunch of happy little trees, but model painting is pretty easy. It's just basically paint by numbers for adults. Once you have an idea of what kind of color scheme you want, it becomes really easy. Just a matter of swallowing your fear and just do it. Can't be afraid of a mistake. Can't be afraid of what other people think of your painting skills. Only thing you need to impress is yourself. If you think the model looks good, that's all that matters. That's what I do. I just paint it to the colors I like. I like gray and blue, so I'm gonna paint my armies in gray and blue. My first army was Leagues of Wotan. That's what color I painted them. Gray armor, color just similar to this guy. with blue as a secondary color. Turned out really nice. Though the gray I used was a little bit darker than this, or actually lighter, almost white. Still turned out really good though, I think, and that's all that matters. Even possible to do it even if you have shaky hands. I have pretty shaky hands. I just hold my arm against my desk. Helps control the shake. And if it doesn't, I just kind of work between the shakes. Onto the cod piece. There we go. Onto the shoulders. And first arm. I leave the inside with just one coat. Inside the shoulder pauldron with one coat to give it natural shadow. That was a crack. My wrist popped. Look at that. Missed the inside of the arm. That's a shame. That's alright. Just get that first layer on there and it'll be fine. It's kind of in the shadow anyway, so you can't really see it. Onto the hands. Just a light touch. Alright. Onto the chest piece. And again, you don't have to worry about being perfect at first. Even if you cut or an area that you don't want colored yet, you just go back later with the next color and color it over. Mistakes can always be fixed. Weird thing about this gray is that it looks way thicker than it actually is. Like, even just 2 coats looks like it's like 10 coats for some reason. Don't really know why. Probably just perception. Alright, I think that's all of it. Just double check. Oops. I think the first color is done, looks like. Go on to the next color, which I think is going to be, there we go, red. I use Vallejo paint, not a sponsor, but most of the paints I use are either Vallejo or Cuttlefish. I just like the way they look. Though I do have some AK paints, I don't use a whole lot of them. Although their metal color line is fantastic. You'll see that later on when I start painting the metallics. I won't need a whole lot of red. I'm only painting their heads and the loincloths. Alright, back to this guy. Weird thing about this red is that it always goes on splotchy. I don't know why. It always feels like it's too thin. Or not thin enough at the same time. It always goes on streaky, like you can see the paint strokes. It always feels like it's not enough layers. Yeah, and I don't really know why it does that. I know it's not because I'm thinking it too much or not enough. Wet palette I'm using is pretty good at keeping all the colors perfectly wet or moist. But that's why I use multiple layers too. Eventually it'll build up and it'll be a nice solid red color. Alright, onto the loincloth. Because I'm only painting the head and loincloth, I'm just going to be going from one model to the next, while waiting for the first model to dry. That way I'm always doing something, not just sitting around twiddling my thumbs. There we go. On to the next guy for now. nice and streaky. See that? I'm not worried about. Oh, sorry about that. I got a little bit of paint on the gray. I'm not really worried about it too much. After I'm done painting, I'll go back with all the colors and touch up as needed. That's why you don't have to worry about making mistakes too much. You just go with it. And eventually you'll just go back and correct it. Kind of a hard part. Yeah, the loincloth positioning is pretty hard to get to. But that's alright. Just do what you can. Even if you make a little mistake, fix it later. Always easier to fix it later than to fret about it now. There we go. On to the next one. I'll probably have to do 3 coats on the head just to get the color to be solid enough. But that's okay. It's always better to do thin coats, because you can build it up layer by layer until it gets to the consistency that you want. Because you can always add more. That's why it's always better to use thin paints. Thick paints, you can't remove paint once you've painted it on. With thin paints, just add and add and add until you have what you want. Yeah, see that gray color I was on the black before? Now you can't even see it, because it just paints right over. That's what I was talking about not worrying about mistakes. Because you'll just paint over it anyway. No problems. guy. Yeah, that first layer took a long time. All the gray. That's because it was a lot of gray to paint. But the red, and the rest of the colors will just fly through because I'm only painting a few things those colors. Also, I don't have to be as accurate with the red because it's what I'm painting is all the way out in the open. No nooks and crannies to worry about except for the cloth. It's still wet. This was the easier of the model of the cloth. The legs weren't in the way. There we go. Model number 5. This will be another easy one. Put a little more paint on my brush. Get the excess off on the thumb. If you don't want to get paint on your thumb, you can always use a piece of scrap paper or a rag and get your excess paint off that way. Thumb's just convenient because it's right there. Or you can wear gloves if you want. If you don't want to get paint on yourself. But this is acrylic paint. It's not really it's not poisonous at all. Just plastic. You can even there's people who've accidentally licked their paintbrushes and still had paint on it. Tastes nasty, I'm sure, but it's not gonna hurt them. Way too much paint on my brush there. Oops. Sorry about that. I keep letting my model come out of focus. Paint on the brush. Get rid of the excess. There we go. First layer is done. Back to the first guy. Feels like the paint's pretty dry. So, go ahead and get on the second layer. Get rid of the excess. So even the second layer looks pretty smeared. Never been able to figure out why the red paint does that. And it's only the red paint that does it. Probably something to do with the amount of pigment or water in the paint that's already in the paint. But yet when I use it as a spray paint with my airbrush, it always comes out perfectly. Use the paint on my thumb. Alright. I'll probably come back and do a third layer, at least on the head. It still looks pretty smeared and splotchy. This is the first time I ever thought about doing like a lo-fi chill stream. I always figured I was gonna always be a gaming type of streamer. But I figured, yeah, with how weird the world is lately, I figured a nice chill stream would be nice. Sit back, relax, listen to some chill music, maybe learn a thing or two about painting. Model number 3. Oops. A bit there. A little more paint. I shouldn't have too worried about the edges. It's okay if it's still only one layer on the edges. Don't worry about getting paint where I don't want it. I can always go back later and fix everything. More paint on my brush. Keep taking that model out of frame. Sorry about that. this on YouTube or not. I do have a channel, but I've never really used it. Might as well put it on YouTube. I mean, it's not like I have anything to lose for it. But don't know if I'll keep it in one part or break it up into multiple. Probably just put it in one piece. Yeah, that's turning out pretty good too. Alright, fifth guy, last one. Sorry about the squeaky chair. It's an old chair. Had it for 5 or so years. Sorry if it ruins your vibes. Breaks you out of your zen. But, oops. Sorry about that. I keep keeping the model out of view. I'm really terrible at that. Sorry about that. Excuse me, burp. Alright, put a little bit on the snoot there. And go on to the loincloth. Done. Alright. Go back to the first guy again. Feels like the paint's dry. And I'm gonna go for a third layer. Just on the head, maybe on the loincloth too. Ah, there we go. Now it's turning out better. That's much better. It's okay if it's a little bit streaky. It kind of gives it a little bit of character. And just give it a nice, simple coat on the cloth. There we go. That's perfect. 3 layers is all it took. Almost, bring that guy back into focus. It almost looks like a bowling ball in a way, doesn't it? Interesting effect with the swirls. Give the other guys the same treatment. Rip the excess paint and third layer going on. There we go. Oh yeah, that looks fine. That looks good. Do a basic coat with the loincloth. Not worry about getting the details, just to kind of give it a better look to it. There we go. On to the next guy. Just rinse and repeat until they're all done. All about thinking about what color I'm gonna do next. Which I think I'll do gold next. Yeah, gold. back is going to be all gold. And there's a little emblem on the front of their chests that I'm also going to paint gold if I can get to them. Oops, sorry. Just two. If you're wondering why my little anime avatar isn't moving when I talk, it's because obviously the camera I have is being used. It's the only camera I got. And it's based off of my webcam. But whenever I play games and use the anime avatar, it moves around and just like all the other VTubers out there, because I'm using the camera on myself. Actually, I'm wondering if this guy even needs a third coat. It looks pretty good as is. There we go. That bowling ball look effect. Final coat of red. There we go. Yeah. Clean my brush off and start with the next color. Alright. Let me readjust the positioning of this guy. That's good right there. Alright, we'll be using gold next. I have a paint mixer right over there next to my water cup. It's advertised as a mixer for fingernail paint, but serves the same purpose of mixing a paint can, or a paint bottle in this case. Go ahead and just a little dab, I won't need much. The pigments in the gold paint make it a lot thicker than normal paints, because it gives a metallic sheen to everything. So I need to really work it into the wet palette to give it nice and wet. Not necessarily runny, but make it easier to spread around onto a model. There we go, that looks about right. Get rid of the excess, and I really like using metallic paints. For the most part, they're pretty robust. I mean, look how thick and how bright that looks after just one coat. Only really need to use one coat with metal paints, metallics. That's just how thick they usually are. not necessarily thick, but their pigments are pretty strong and easily overshadows any of the undercoats. Although, just to be safe, I'll be doing multiple coats like usual. Always better to do 2 coats than not. There we go. If I can't get to that symbol in the center there. Go ahead and just get rid of all the excess. Reposition the model. And just kind of lightly tap the tip of the brush against the symbol there to kind of transfer some of the paint. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, just enough to... There we go, look at that. Looks fine like that. Put a little bit more on it right there. And that'll be just fine. There we go. Touch up there, I was holding on to it from the tips there. There we go. On to the next model. And the same thing, just paint the backside gold. Oops, sorry about that, guys. I know I'm terrible at this. Keep putting the model outside the camera. And that's okay. Mistakes are more like learning opportunities. Make a mistake, use it to learn how to not do it, and keep going on. You can't learn anything if you don't make mistakes in life. Definitely be using a second layer. That's good. get to. That's fine. On to the next model. Paint on the brush. Yeah, I can't even get to that. Hmm. Maybe if I go in from the underside here. There we go. I don't have to do a lot of paint, just enough to give it a little bit of a sparkle. Yeah, that's good. On to the next guy. Stretch my back there, sorry about that. I'm not used to sitting down like this for so long without moving. I usually get up and take breaks throughout my painting session just to stretch and pop my back. Oops. Again, sorry about that. I keep holding the model outside of your view. This symbol will be easy to get to, just right there. There we go. A little heavy-handed, but that's okay. Last guy. And then we'll go back to the first guy and do a second layer. more smeary in the last couple of minutes. Yeah. And looks like I can get to that chest symbol from underneath. Again, get a little more paint on my brush. There we go. Yeah, that's fine. Go on to the first guy. And just do a second layer of gold, adjust on the back tines. I'm not worried about getting a second layer on the chest piece. It only needs to be just a little bit shiny there because it's mostly hidden. Same with the second layer, I'm not worried about it being perfect. Just getting rid of some of the streaks. There we go. Missed a spot. There. Next guy. Just do a quick once over, get rid of the streaks. Rid of the excess paint. There we go, looking good. On to the next guy. Put a little more paint on my brush. Some of these streaks. Really good there. I think the next color we'll do is going to be copper. It'll go on the power cords leading into the guns. And just like the gold backing, they'll take no time at all, really. There we go. Do that a little bit again with a little bit wetter paint. There we go, that's better. On to the last guy. Just get rid of some of those streaks. And once again. There we go. And that's the gold done. Clean off my brush. Clean my hand off a little bit. Get rid of some of the excess paint. There we 8K colors I use. Copper. Like I said, most of the paints I have is either Cuttlefish or Vallejo. But most of my metallic colors are 8K paints. Their paints are really good for metallics. Give it a good mix. Especially important with metallic colors, to mix it really good in order to get all that metallic pigment mixed up just right. We don't need a whole lot of color. Don't need a whole lot of paint on the palette. We're just doing little bits of tubing and piping. We're going to be painting these parts here with this copper color. And again, it's all about how you like it. I mean, I like having a little bit of some metallic color in there on something like this because it looks like it's a power chord. A little bit too wet. Oops, sorry about that. I'm terrible, I'm sorry. And most metallics are thick enough that you don't really need to use a second layer. There we go. Like I said, it's gonna take no time at all to get this. I'll look back at that first one again to see if I need to do a second layer or not. I doubt I will. Oh, a little piece of cat hair. Wonders of owning cats, right guys and gals? Cat hair gets everywhere. There we go, that one's done. On to the next. See what I mean? It just burned through it super fast. Takes no time at all. And look at that, we're painting over our previous mistakes. As if they weren't there. A little more paint on my brush. There we go. That's 3. Let's burn through this fast. A little more paint on the brush. Got more paint on my thumb than I do on my palette at this point. But if you missed any of this painting session, want to go back and watch it from the beginning, I will be putting this up as a video on YouTube. Links will be down below in my about part of the page, or you can come back onto Twitter here, or not Twitter, Twitch here, and watch the VOD as long as it's still up. If you wanted to use this as a tutorial on how to paint miniatures, that'd be nice. Nice to think that I'm good enough at my hobby that people can be inspired by it. Even if it's being inspired by how not to do it. offense if you say if I'm crappy at this or not very good. That's your opinion, just like it's my opinion to think that's good enough. That's all I ever really go for is good enough. I'm not going for perfection, trying to win the top prize in a painting competition or get on the front cover of White Dwarf. Don't care about any of that. I just want to make it look nice enough for my own standards. Just like what you should be doing. You should never be painting to any standards other than your own. If you think it looks good, go with it. There we go. I'll go back to this first guy. How's that look? It looks pretty good. I don't think I'll need a second layer of that on any of this. Maybe just a little bit more there, just to cover up the gray. Oh, missed the top part of it. That's okay. That's why I go back and double check everything. There we go. Just go back and get anything that I missed. There we go. And it looks like I got a little bit right there I need to get. There we go. That's all for the copper. Going to clean my brush off. Go on to the next color, which I think I'll just do a basic metallic color, kind of a steel color. Color the, I guess you could call it the magazine of the weapon, as well as the connector going from that copper tube to the gun itself. Dry the brush off. And back to the Vallejo color. Gunmetal, one of my personal favorite colors. I mean, when you see it, it's a very, very shiny metallic color. Almost looks like fresh steel. Or as the name of the color suggests, freshly pressed gunmetal. Don't need a whole lot. We're just doing a couple small things. And work it into the palette to let the moisture get to it. There we go. Get the excess on my thumb. And we're just going to paint this part here. In this metallic color. And just like that copper, we only need really one layer. It's a very high pigment sort of color. Get that in there like that. And then paint this part, this metallic color. Get a little more paint on my brush. metal on the cloth. That's okay. Once we get everything touched up, it'll all look nice. And on to the next guy. Put a little more paint on my palette, or my brush. Just get this small piece. Oops, got a little bit of hair or something on my brush. There we go. Now we'll get this magazine thing majigger. That one was easy. Didn't have to go through the legs at all. Always nice when it's easier like that. There we go. Next in line. Put a little more paint on my brush. Oops. And look at that. And, previous mistakes now covered up. Look at that. Never knew that I messed up there. A little bit of the previous gold from before. Again. Look at that. As if it never happened. Etch a sketch. Shake it away. Yeah. On to the next guy. Put a little more paint on my brush. Get a little more paint on the brush again. There we go. In there and get a little bit of color on there. It looks like we're having to reach between the legs again to get the rest of this painted. Looks like that's good. On to the last guy. And then we'll be doing the last color. Which is going to be kind of a bronzy color, but the bottle says rusty gold. I'll be painting the tips of the guns in that color. The rest of the gun I'm going to keep black because it's a scary assault rifle. I'm just kidding. funny thing about these colors, or coloring models, just by coloring it, it changes the perception of what it is. You know, this copper color makes it obvious it's kind of some kind of power conduit. The metal connector connecting to a militaristic gun. A future militaristic gun, mind you. There we go. I do believe that's done with that color. Wash my brush off again. Dry it off. And on to this Rusty Gold by AK Paints again. Use the shaker to really shake it up. Gotta get that pigment properly mixed in there, right? And just like with the rest of the metals, we don't need a whole lot, just a dab will do ya. And look at that, that's a nice kind of bronzy color. Put it on the tips of the guns. No particular reason why I choose a color like this, other than I think it looks good, and just kind of break up the monotony of a fully black weapon. Looks like with just like the other metallics, I only need to do really one coat. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, that looks nice. You can see how all the colors just kind of came together at the end. You wouldn't think that it all works out, but it does. Good. And after this is done, it looks like I missed a little bit of the gold there. I'll come back during the touch-up stage, which is what's next after I paint all these tips. This burnt gold color, bronze. I'll be going back with the other colors, missing any spots I missed, or painting any spots I missed rather, sorry. And touch up any mistakes I might have made. And then be done. And then I'll consider using a wash to kind of make it all a little bit dirty or dirty looking. Kind of give it that grim, dark vibe. Or I might just keep it as is. Oops, sorry about that. I wonder if I can just move that just a little bit, give it a better angle. You don't need to have any kind of fancy technique either, as far as knowing color theory or whatnot. I mean, it certainly helps to know your color wheel, but at the same time, it's your model. Paint it how you want to. And if you want to experiment, I mean, go for it. That's half the fun, isn't it? And if you don't want to mess up your model by experimenting on a color, you can always just get like a throwaway model, a model that you don't care about, or just a piece of paper. Experiment with different color combinations. See what looks good together, what doesn't. It all kind of works out in the end. Because it is all about your end result. Do you enjoy it? And that is the bronze done on all 5 models. Get that paint off there, or the hair off there. Gonna clean the brush off again. Dry it off. And we'll go back over the previous guys and see what I need to clean up. Looks like the red needs to be cleaned up there. Black also needs to be cleaned up, but I'll do that last. We'll start with the first color, gray. Just touch up whatever needs to be touched up. And get whatever I missed before. Looks like there's a little bit there that needs to be got. And another bit right there. A little bit of silver got onto that part. A little more silver got onto there. Looks like a little bit of red got on there. And looks like that's all of it. Put this back. Put a little more paint on the palette. Where's the gray at? There it is. Go ahead and reshake it up. And not a lot. We're just doing touch-ups. We don't need a whole lot of paint. Go on to the second guy. Same thing, just go through and touch up whatever we missed, or wherever the paint got where we didn't want it, like this piece of red right here. Just touch that up. Looks like a little bit more red got onto there. And on this side too. Alright, we'll go ahead and just get rid of some of that stippling. Looks like we got a little bit of red right there. And missed a spot right there. Go ahead and do that. He's done. On to the next bottle. Let's see what we see. It looks like a little bit of red right here. Clean that up. A little more red on the calf. And on this calf. On the inner thigh there. And looks like that's it. Oh, right there on the knee. Got a little bit of gray on there, that's fine. I'll go back here in a second and clean it up. Looks like a little bit more right there. Not necessarily painted with red, I just missed it earlier, it looks like. Right there too. Oops, sorry. On to the next guy. There shouldn't be a whole lot of red paint where we don't want it on this one. His legs are pretty far apart. There is a little gold where we don't want it though, right there. Get my tip back, make it easier to control. There we go. That guy's clean. Last guy, check for the gray. And looks like this one might be pretty good off. I don't see any. Oh, never mind, there's one right there. And a little bit on the bottom. A little bit of touch up right there, looks like. And looks like I missed the inside of the arm there. That's fine. We got it now. Looks like, yeah. Clean my brush off and dry it off. And go on to the reds. And make sure that the red has not been covered up at all by anything that I didn't want it to. Reload my red. And looks like got a little bit of metal on there. And other than that, that's good. Next guy. Go and touch up that part. Put a little more paint on his snoot. And that's good. This guy, he's got a little bit of gray on the side of that talberd. And touch touch up some of the black that's right there. Onto this guy. Looks like he's good. Maybe a little bit of touch up on his snoot. Go on to the last guy. Looks like it doesn't need any red. That's good. Maybe just a little bit bright there. Yeah. That's good. And last but not least, we'll touch up with some black. Recolor the joints black, and the gun, and the base. And then these guys will be done. Except for using a shade like Known Oil, which I'm not entirely sure I'm going to do. And since we haven't used the black yet, we'll go ahead and put it on the palette. Mix everything up nice and nice. There we go. And put 3 dots worth of black on there. I don't need a whole lot, I don't think. I can always add more if I do. But for the most part, I'm just gonna be hitting all these articulation points where it looks like it's like a joint. I'll also be repainting the bases where the colors bled over or overshot. Do this just without having to offload my brush. Just kind of push it around like that. And then hit up the back of the knee with that black. And then on the gun itself, just cover up the gold with the black. And any gray that I might have missed. And get the inside of the elbows here. That black. And again, it's okay if I make a mistake. I can just go back with the gray and fix it. Or whichever color got messed up. Yeah, that's good. Looks like I got a little bit of metal there where I don't want it. On to the next guy. Oh. I'll have to come back with gold on one of these guys because I remember I missed a spot on the tip, I think. Yeah, this third guy. That's okay. We'll start with the base. Just get rid of the colors that I overshot with. So it's back in black. And go on to the back of this guy's knees. Getting rid of some of the excess and bleeding over onto the gray a little bit. There's a spot of red there on the gray, so I'll have to get the gray anyway. This guy, same thing, we'll just slather the black on thick on the base here. And then move up to the knees. It's hard to get the tip just right for this one. There we go. Just like that. Cover up that bit of gray there that got onto the gun. And the articulation point of the elbow. Get a little more paint on my brush. There we go. I'll go back with the gray and clean it up a little bit. This guy will just do that. Get rid of some of the excess. And just push around like that. And then work my way up to the knees. Been doing this for so long at once I'm starting to go cross-eyed a little bit. There we go. Get those articulation points. On to the elbow. There we go. Nothing on the gun that I need to clean up. On to the last guy. Go and load my brush up. And push around the base to clean up the base. There we go. Put a little more paint on the brush. Get the excess off. And we'll take care of this articulation point. Oh, that's going to be a hard one. Definitely have to go back with the gray. There we go. Looks like the elbow joint. Alright. That's all the black done. Clean my brush off again, put a little gold on it to fix this one guy. Just that little bit of touch up on the tip of his back spine. Just right there. one more time. And put a little bit more gray on the brush. Sorry about that, I had to stretch my back out. And did I miss all that on the first one? Look at all that I missed there. I'm gonna have to redo that with the black. Just trying to find where I need to touch up the gray again. Wasn't on this guy, it was on a different guy. This guy, I think. Yeah. Alright. Double check this guy again. Just to make sure. Yeah, he's good. On to this guy. Just touch up gray again. Looks like I got a little bit of red right there I need to cover up. There we go. On to the next guy. Looks like a little bit right there needs to cover up. But otherwise, good. Last guy. Just a little bit of a touch up right there. A little bit of touch up there. And right there, I missed a, looks like I missed a spot there. Oh, I forgot about the hip articulation joints. So clean up the brush one more time and go back to the black, which I need to do anyway for that first model for the base, because I missed the gray splotches on the base. Back to the black, still got plenty of it left. And we'll just go ahead and just, oops, sorry about that. Push the black into the paint like that. There we go. Put a little more paint on the brush. And go after these hip joints that I missed. Looks like I'll have to go back with the gray again to retouch up stuff. That's okay. I'm not in a hurry at all. Yeah, definitely touch that back up. There we go. Oh, I missed that part of the gray. That's okay, that's what this is all about. You just go back and forth between your colors, correct your mistakes. Don't be in too much of a rush. And then eventually it'll be done. And we'll all be happy. Put a little more paint on my brush. This guy doesn't really need any touch-up. I was wrong. He needs a little bit of touch-up. Excuse me. Burp. And just get my brush to a nice thin point. There we go. And there we go. And touch up the back of this, where the spine meets the rest of the armor. I actually want that to be black still. That's fine. Did I get the other side of this one? Yeah. Move it back down the line. There we go. Yeah, just a little bit more to go, looks like. One more time. That side's good. Alright. Go back to gray one more time. And touch up the areas that I missed again. And I think we'll call it a day after that. Get the excess off our brush. This guy, somehow I missed that little red spot right there and right there. Alright. Looks like like it's all good. Yeah. And that's it. Wash the brush off. Dry it off. Hang it up. And I think that's them done. Alright. All I got left really is to do a wash on it, which I need to wait until it's completely dry and no chance of it being runny. So that's going to be it for on this stream. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching. If you would hit the like button if you liked it. It was nice and relaxing. And have yourselves a lovely day. I'll give you one last look at all the models. See how they look. Looks like they all turned out really nice. Oops. Did I miss a spot there? That's okay. There we go. And missed another spot. Keep saying I'm done, but I keep finding more and more that needs to be done. That's the way it goes sometimes. There we go. And the fifth guy. Hopefully he's actually done. Yep. And there we go. And with that, I actually am done. Well, thanks for watching, and have yourselves a lovely day.
Mic off.